Hi, welcome to Homework Today. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey in learning just a little bit more of this ancient language, my native tongue. And yesterday we talked about how to look like a teacher, or it's a pretty it's a statement to ask teachers, you better look the role because teachers are role models for school kids, and this is the expectation of especially the appearance, probably not just on the appearance level, also behavior level. 为人师表. Okay, today we have 师表 repeated, but it came from a totally different time and era, and in different meaning. Both characters in different meaning. Last one was teachers. Look, right? This time it's about army, 2,500 headcount formation army, and 表 is not just look, visual look. This one is verbal look, so to speak. So it's a verbally expression. Chinese, we a lot of times say 表达. It's try to deliver whatever expression you want to have. So this 表 is almost like an official, like well thought, well written out pieces to state clearly your position or stand on something, your attitude towards something. So that's 表. Okay, 出 means departure. So if you ever travel to Asia, even in Japan, I think, in Japan and China, when they have this departure, 出发, and arrival, right? So that's the word we use, 出. So 出 originally already have this meaning of leaving someplace. And this image of the ancient character, compared to this and this one looks more like furrier, right? More fluid. In a way, it's more beautiful, more elegant. So that came from this caved space on the ground. So this curved line at the bottom is the ground. And then the three, Chinese always use the three pointed upward image. Not just mean mountain in some cases, but over here means plant. And you notice this plant doesn't have a root going down. So this is a plant who got dig out from its soil, from its ground. So basically kill the plant. So end of life for the plant. Not really expert. I forgot how to say that English word. So dig something out, right? In this case, visually represented as dig a plant out. So that's the kind of, agrarian society base a lot of their meaning from their daily, most familiar activity, which is to harvest, right? To harvest. And I guess in this case is to cut the whole plant out from the soil. And that soil living its environment, meant to die, meant to be consumed by people, right? That's your crop for the year. In this case, when it extended that leaving its environment to people, it means somebody who is heading out, and it's not just a small trip, but probably a pretty big endeavor to go somewhere, either far or somewhere that's risky. You don't really know if there's a guarantee to return. So it could be a one-way ticket of 出. In this case, in this context, we have 师 after that. So 师 was the ancient unit of army. That's 2,500 people made up a 师. So this, I just translated army, right? It's a generic. 出师 means this army, they are going to battle. And this 出 means leaving their camp or leaving their kingdom. They are out to the battlefield, either on their turf or on the enemy's side. So this 出师 in that context means departing. And of course, in the military context, this is high risk. So that's the character we use for this context. It's not just living or 去, like 去, maybe a small excursion is a person living the cave. It's still mobile, you can still walk back. But this is a plant digging out of its environment. That kind of 出 is more deadly in a way, right? Higher risk kind of 出. Okay, let's review the 是 again. So we have the left side with this kind of a cliff, right? An edge on the left. And then we have two, I view it as kind of a structure in the land that's kind of stacking up vertically. That's not having a, probably have close to 90-degree uprise. So it's easy. It's not that easy to go up that. It's almost vertically stacking up. So that's the kind of an edge of a cliff image. And this right side is the flip image of 知. 知, if you, imagine is it horizontally? Yes, it's horizontally or vertically? No, this is vertically. Okay, if you vertically flip this image, so this becomes the bottom, and then we have this three cactus looking pointer upward. So that's a plant symbol, just like this, three pointed upward. That's a plant. I still have the root on the ground. So again, this is from the daily life back then, which is farming. Farming in our contemporary life is pretty far away activity for regular folks, right? Who doesn't work on farm. We only have a small population working on farm directly. So for the majority of us, we don't exactly know or refer to our concepts in life with farming related objects. So plant, in ancient Chinese, used a lot. In this plant growing on the ground image, eventually that 知 got abstracted into anything that's still in existence, is still planted on the ground. So it's almost like a pointer of that. So in English, we have this, that, right? So it's kind of like there's no specific thing filled in there. It's just a blank word, like X. It's a variable. It's 知, so pointing to something. And now it's a flip vertically of that. It's a negation, negation of pointing at this, like the microphone, right? Pointing at this. Now the word flipped, that means, oh, it's not this, it's everything else. And everything else becomes the kind of a deduced meaning that from this. Now it's not this, it's everything else, but not this. So that means everything else that's surrounding this. So developed this surrounding concept, which is pretty difficult to express, right? If you imagine the target symbol, the bullseye, so there's a center, there's a circle around it. You can interpret, okay, that circle is sort of like a surround the symbol in the middle, the bullseye. And with that, probably we can express this surrounding concept with something, some kind of symbolic visual like that. But I think this is a good, elegant way, and it use a little bit deduction, logic step, like not this, everything else. Okay, so a lot of people surrounding, and when we have this cliff image, a lot of times it relates to military action. Probably that's cliff is kind of a boundary setting. Or cliff could be higher ground. It's a more defensible location, so strategically more important location. And a lot of times we'll find military maneuvers related have this icon on the side. So now we have 200, we have this surrounding meaning plus this cliffside something related to terrain, to maneuver, to geographic distribution of your people, right? So surrounded of that together, eventually that means, okay, you'll probably have enough people, 2,500 people, to surround enemy that's installed on top of the hill, a structure up there. So that's how you besiege someone, right? So that eventually means, okay, enough people to surround such a place is 2,500, and that that becomes a fixed concept. And eventually this 2,500, even less important, it's the unit of people in an army. It's pretty sizable. Doesn't have to be 2,100 exact, right? And that eventually extended to force, like armed force. So there we go. Departing army and biao. Again, we have this clothing, which is kind of wrapped in the front collar, and the back collar expressed like that. Or you can view it as a hat, cone-shaped hat. I mean, I view it both ways, could. And then this horizontal fluffy image over here is hair. So this character actually means the fur coat. So it's a piece of garment with hair facing out, and the emphasis, originally it means fur coat, but eventually the emphasis is, okay, it's the surface, the hairy side of the coat, which is the outside, not the inside. So we know a piece of garment have inside, in contemporary Chinese, we have lining, right, to make it comfortable where it touches your skin. And on the outside is more the decorative side, more stylized, like more money, resources spent on the outside, because we want to look good on the outside, right? That's a world-facing side. So that side, the surface side from clothing, eventually becomes the surface. And then the look, the appearance. I guess eventually this appearance becomes more like intentional. If you can adorn, right? You can groom, you can make yourself look, you can, vary the degree of how good you look, right? It depends on the settings where you go. And then that look on the surface, like extended even into presentation. So not just the clothing, this shallow look, appearance, but also the expressions, what you say. That's also your look. That compose a big part of how people view you, right? Not just how you dress, but definitely how you talk and behave. So this becomes more, in a literal sense, this biao then becomes like a formal statement. So 出师表 was written in 227. That's 1,800 years ago, almost 1,800 years ago, when China was split into three regimes, forces, a lot of war stories, and a lot of dramas, the later day imaginations of that time came from that era. Because in time of such trying time, in today's world, we have like a warring president, right? Like war era president. So that instantly like placed that president almost at a higher rank as a peaceful time president, because war is an extreme condition that we don't normally face, and you have to adapt. It's not a plan, like it's not plannable, right? So you have to adapt. It's kind of like a game, right? You input and you get some result, and you have to change your strategy to adapt to the new situation. So war is an intensive time, and because they were at war, because it's not the single leadership over the whole China at that time, ancient. I mean, we changed the borders throughout the history so many times. So for that era, the three regimes, like no one has yet overpower the other and unify this land yet. So these three forces, they kind of play off each other a little bit more complicated. So at that time, this background of this 出师表, you see, is long passage, about 900 plus words, Chinese words. Chinese are known to be succinct in their word use, right? So 900 words plus passage would be considered pretty lengthy statement about something, right? So this something is 诸葛亮, which was the chief military strategist. And I mean, this guy was a legend in Chinese history. And probably over the time in our episodes, we occasionally came across this person. Stories came from this person, like a 空城计 definitely is a play off 诸葛亮 story. And this 出师表 was written by him as the #1 brain of that one of the forces, which was not the strongest at that point. And there was a transition of who is the leader of the country, which is the son, because the original leader passed away before he can unify the three different regimes. So it's something mission unaccomplished. And in that context, the son, the second generation, inherit this, forced into this, wartime, become almost like a wartime leader, right? And that wartime leader, when it was, the young boy was not trained. Probably he was not like a boy, but still, to be a wartime leader requires a lot, right? You have to problem solve a lot to survive till now, which is what the dad did, accomplished, but couldn't finish the business. Now it passed to the second generation who were not involved in all the military maneuvers and the decisions. How can that person continue to be the leader and succeed to complete the mission? So in that context, this top brain of the country, who was very loyal and who was probably outsmart his enemies a lot, but they are not resource rich. Probably the region they occupy doesn't the most wealthy region either. So they don't have the manpower or economic resources to outpower the other two regimes. But in this case, he decided to go out after the enemy, go to their battlefield to engage, to finish the unfinished mission. So before his departure, he wrote this 900 plus words statement to the second generation leader, basically tell him to make good calls and to trust yourself, to first grow into a leader and to have good judgment of what kind of people and voices, like voices are signals, right? So listen to whom, who discern who is loyal to you and whose advice was valid, kind of cross-check, or whatever techniques that person, the new leader, need to face, need to make good calls. So this whole passage was almost like a fatherly figure to the new leader, and to let him to settle into his role. Well, this top brain, he was a brain, but because the battlefield probably too far away, there was no way to back and forth past real-time war situation. So he go with the army to make frontline decisions, and he couldn't departure for that big battle. It's probably would be a turning point of the fortune of their kingdom. If they couldn't win this war, probably it will become the downhill of them. Now, the balance power of the three regimes will be broken, right? But this is the one trip that has high stake. So before his departure, he gave out all the advice and kind of also show the loyalty because of your father treated me so well. The story goes, he was someone, the Zhuge Liang, this top brain guy, was not involved in any of the governmency or serve with any of the leaders at the time, but he has a reputation as a strategist. So the father of this new leader invited him to join him, and he refused 3 times. So this leader consistently go humbling himself to ask for the talent to join him. So it's that kind of, I trust you. I want to invite you to join me, the kind of attitude eventually moved him. And so he decided to quit his retirement job, comfy retirement lifestyle, to join and started an era. And his legends, his stories, his maneuvers are documented in later generations, in later storytelling. And this is his first person statement of how he viewed the situation. Is pretty complicated, and gave that big piece of advice. And because China has a hierarchy of, the leaders at top, whoever the brain or the servants of the leader definitely have no, not in position actually to tell the leader what to do, right? You can only suggest. So he has to verbalize it in a way that's suggestions and lay out that his plan and his vision, and basically try to sign on board of the second younger leader to continue the cause and to aim for to make victory. So that's the context of 出师表. Okay, cashing into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you next day.